A warm welcome to Disky Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you have been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, we discuss all things DSTV Premiership, as I will have a look at all 16 teams within the PSL. So, we're then going to have a look at the log. We'll start from number 16 and work our way all the way to number 1. However, it is key to note then that this episode is being recorded before a couple of fixtures have been played this weekend. So by the time this episode does come out, certain fixtures would have played and certain teams then would have changed positions. Let's look at it then. Currently, you do have Baroka, who sit 16th. So, Baroka have played 18, and they currently then sit on 14 points. So when you have a look then at Baroka, this is a team then that we do know that recently then did reinstate coach Kholoko Tobejane. So when you then have a look at them, they are then trying to avoid relegation, and they've had a couple of good results. And within those couple of good results, they've had a couple of draws, and with those draws, those are games that they actually could have gone on to win had then be able then to bury their chances. And when you look at them then, they're currently not conceding a lot of goals. So they are actually then improving to a certain degree, and they're really fighting to ensure then that they will be able to survive relegation. However, the most important thing then with Baroka is ensuring that they score those goals, because defensively, they have looked solid and they have looked strong. And when you then have a look at them then at the back, and what has really helped them then, you've got Farmer, you've got Sibia, you've got Dlala, and then you've got Kambala as well. And I think then within the heart of midfield and this centre-back pairing, I think this is what has really helped them to be defensively solid. They've had sort of this solid block and this solid square within the middle of the pitch, within vertical zone 3, and that has helped them then to concede less goals. However, the most important thing then is ensuring that Mahopa up front can start scoring those goals, and Mbulu as well. And then you've also got Masia as well. So it's very important that then Masia, Mbulu, and Mahopa are able then to start scoring those goals for this Baroka side so that they can advance further up the log. Otherwise, if they're not able to start converting their chances, then I don't see them being within the DSTV Premiership next season. So very interesting times then ahead at Baroka. It's going to be very interesting then to see how they go about their business. And then when you have a look at the next team, we do have Swallows. So with Swallows then, they've played 20 games and they currently sit on 15 points. So when you have a look at Swallows then, this is a side then that went out and appointed Dylan Kerr towards the end of last year. And with Dylan Kerr then, we have seen him being able then to get a couple of good results within the league and within the net bank as well. However, I just feel like they haven't been as consistent as they're supposed to be, especially then when you have a look at the final third. So even though they have gotten a couple of good results, however, they can do a lot better, especially then within the final third, and also then looking to get a bit more solid at the back, because then if they do struggle then to get those goals up front, and they struggle then to ensure that they keep out the goals, then you're looking at a team then that could potentially really struggle. And it's important then that they start picking up those 3 points, and it's also then going to be very important that they ensure that they're a lot more solid at the back and they're able then to finish off their chances. And then moving up right along then, you do have TS Galaxy, who sit at 14th. So they've played 18 and they sit on 16 points. So when you have a look then at TS Galaxy, who are managed by Ramovic, this is a team then that are currently playing some very good football, and a team that is really improving then, because when Ramovic took over, TS Galaxy looked really, really bad. However, when you have a look at them now, they are starting to play some really good football, and they are starting to create those chances, and they are starting to score those goals. However, the most important thing then about TS Galaxy going forward is that they have to ensure then that they are very, very consistent. They also have to ensure that then they don't allow the opposition to create too many chances. So if they can be solid at the back and then look to get those goals, they should be fine within the DSTV Premiership. And I do foresee them surviving relegation, especially because they've got Ramovic, who has then a clear set philosophy and methodology with regards then to how he'd like to impose himself against opposition, and how then TS Galaxy are looking to impose themselves. But what's going to be very interesting then is seeing then how they juggle DSTV Premiership and the Nedbank Cup, because then they looked very good against Kaizer Chiefs, and when they do go into the round of 16 in the Nedbank Cup, they will then be looking to progress to the quarterfinals. So it's going to be very interesting then to see how they balance that out. However, the most important aspect of TS Galaxy then this season is the DSTV Premiership, and ensuring then that they do survive within the DSTV Premiership. And then when we move on right along, you've got Chippa United at number 13, who have played 19 and currently sit on 17 points. So when you then have a look at Chippa United, this is a side then who are currently being coached then by Kurt Lankies. And I must say that he's done a very good job, as he does have the side then scoring goals, playing good football as well. However, the main point then when it comes to Chippa United is their defense. I just feel like defensively they haven't been strong enough, and they haven't always been as organized. So it's going to be very important then that as they do progress and look to survive within DSTV Premiership football, that they look to get defensively sound and tactically disciplined as well, because some of the goals they've conceded is because of them not being tactically disciplined and them switching off and losing that concentration on the second phase of play. So very important then that with Kurt Lankies' side, they look to be defensively resolute, and they then look to be tactically sound. And if they can iron out those defensive issues and look then to be tactically sound and disciplined, I do foresee Chippa actually staying within the DSTV Premiership, because they're currently playing some really good football, they're creating chances, and they have been scoring goals as well. Moving on then right along, you've got Maritzburg, who sit at 12th. So they've played 19 and they have 18 points. So with Ernst Middendorp then, there are a couple of signings that he has made. And when I do look at Maritzburg United, I do think that they should be able to survive, by virtue of the fact that you've got the experience of Ernst Middendorp, who sits in the dugout, and then you also then have the experience of your Clayton Daniels, you've got Nazir Ali, you've got Travis Graham. So those are really experienced heads within DSTV Premiership football. You've got Ntangase as well. So with those type of players, then they should be able then to lead this Maritzburg United side then to a mid-table finish, and just ensure then that Maritzburg United then do play DSTV Premiership football next season. I just think though that the important thing then with Maritzburg United then is up front, how they look to create those chances and finish off those goals. I do think then that they will be looking then to try and finish as close as possible to that top 8 position, because then when you have a look at the upcoming games that they do have, and you have a look at some of the players that they do have, if they do find a good run of form, they can actually look then to finish off the season within top 8. However, the most important thing then is then them ensuring that they survive and they do play DSTV Premiership football next season, which I do foresee happening. And then when you move on right along, at number 11, you've got Marumo Gallants, who've played 18 and they currently sit on 19 points. So with Marumo Gallants then, this is a side then that play a very expansive and very exciting brand of football underneath coach Dan Dance. And they also then have been able then to match very good teams within the league, and they've also been able then to create chances and score goals while then ensuring that they play good brand of football. And what I like about them is that we're starting to see so many of those players who we've always felt had potential. We've always felt that they've got the talent. We're starting to see them really shine, and we're starting to see them then really being able to express themselves. Moving on then right along at number 10, you've got Golden Arrows. They've played 17, and then they've got 22 points. So with Golden Arrows then, this is a side then that have, it's been a mixed bag of results. At times they've played really good football, and at times then they've struggled then to finish. I think that has been the Achilles heel and the biggest talking point for this Golden Arrows side, because they create so many chances and they just don't put them away. So a lot of the times you will see them then ending their games with a stalemate, and they lack that quality within the final third, which is surprising then, because they've got Michael Boy Kumede, they've got Unox Mutizwa, they've got Pule Modi, they've got Kongo, they've got Makawane. So they do have players then with quality within the final third. I just think then it's them about just working then on that finishing and working then within the final third to ensure that they're able then to finish off those chances. However, when you do have a look at Golden Arrows, I do think then that they should really be fighting to finish within the top 8. Moving on then right along, when you have a look at number 9, it is Cape Town City. So with Cape Town City then, they have played 17 and they currently sit on 23 points. So Cape Town City then, this is a side then that they didn't start the season off very well. They were very inconsistent, and it was quite an eyebrow-raising factor, because when you have a look at the players they had at that time, they had Ralani, they had Fakhri Lekay, they had Mubara, they had Ajakun, and then alongside some of the players who are still at the club, you have Duduzim Tanzani, you've got Mukeke, you've got Thabo Notata. So when you look at some of those players that I have mentioned, that then is a squad that has so much quality, and they tick so many boxes. So that is a side then that shouldn't be sitting at 9th. However, they do find themselves sitting at 9th, and they've also let go of some of their best assets. So we do know that they've lost Fakhri Lekay, they've lost Ajagun, they've lost Ralani, and they've lost Mubara as well. 4 players then who are actually very key to that Cape Town City side and added a lot of quality. And we've now seen that Eric Tinkler has brought quite a few of young players from the Diski Challenge side into the first team. So when you have a look at Cape Town City then, it is interesting times ahead with regards to how they're trying to integrate those young players and also then develop then sort of a new game model then, which would then fit in some of those players, because they are sort of going through a restructure mid-season. I know it's kind of odd because it is mid-season. However, they do find themselves going through a restructure because they've brought in so many new faces and they've also then sold so many key players. And when you do have a look at Cape Town City, I do think that they should be trying then to at least finish within the top 8. However, I don't really expect much from this Cape Town City side going into the last couple of rounds within the DSTV Premiership because of how many key players that they've lost, But I do see them then building then for next season and ensuring that they will be able to integrate some of those young players. Moving on then right along, at number 8, you've got Sikukune. They've played 18 and they've got 25 points as well. When you have a look then at Sikukune, this is a team then that, they do play, sorry about that, they do play quite a pragmatic brand of football. So they're not the most expansive team around, and they're not the most free-flowing front-foot footballing team. So they're very pragmatic, and at times they will look to hit teams on the counter. However, for the first season within the DSTV Premiership, the most important thing then is ensuring that you do regain and be able then to you're able then to regain the status for the next season. And they've been able to do that. And with them then being able then to ensure that they will be within, because I think they've picked up enough points with 25 points. And I do foresee them picking up more points. So the most important thing then is then them being able to retain their status for the next season. So I do think that they will be able to retain their status for the next season, and they should be fine. And going into next season then, I think that's when then you will start to see them maybe then playing a bit more open, maybe then them playing a bit more expansive brand of football. Moving on then right along, you do have Supersport United, who currently sit at 7th. So like Cape Town City then, Supersport United are integrating younger players, and we do know that they did lose Utebogo Mokoena, and within the near future, when the season does come to the end, they could lose more players as well. So they are then integrating those young players. So also another team then that I don't really see then an exciting end to the season. However, they're still involved within the Nedbank Cup, so they could look to compete for that. Otherwise, I do see them then just looking then to integrate those young players and ensuring that those young players then more or less understand what's expected of them playing for Supersport United. Moving on then right along, you've got Amazulu at number 6. So they've played 20 games and they've picked up 27 points. With Amazulu then, it has been a mixed bag. You know, they've been very inconsistent this season and they've struggled, and they've also had quite a lot of draws. In fact, they've actually had 12 draws. So they've had the most draws within the DSTV Premiership, and at times they've really struggled within the final third. So I just think then with Amazulu trying to finish off then the DSTV Premiership, it is important then that they do finish off those chances and that they find a lot more consistency. We do know that they're also involved then within CAF Champions League, so it's going to be very interesting then to see how they balance the two. Moving on then right along, at number 5, you do have Kaizer Chiefs. So with Kaizer Chiefs then, they've played 17 and they currently sit on 29 points. So Kaizer Chiefs then, when you have a look at Kaizer Chiefs, it has been quite a mixed bag. Also then considering that how they lost against TS Galaxy within the Nedbank Cup, and how then for the rest of the season, the most important thing then with Kaizer Chiefs is trying to finish as high as possible. With Kaizer Chiefs then, things haven't really been good with Kaizer Chiefs, and there's a lot of friction within the club, and there's a lot of friction then also from the supporters of the club with regards to then how Stuart Baxter has been going about business at Kaizer Chiefs, and also then with the selection at times. The selection, in my opinion, has been incorrect at times, and we've also seen then that quite a few players who one would think should be getting opportunities for the next season haven't really been getting those opportunities, you know, especially then when you consider that Kaizer Chiefs should be looking to next season, because when you have a look at the Nedbank, they're out of that, and they're not in CAF Champions League. And when you have a look at the league is pretty much gone. It will be won by Mamelodi Sundowns. So Kaizer Chiefs then should be looking towards next season. However, they still are playing then those really senior statesmen and some of those old players who, some of them then are coming to the end of their contracts. One would think then that Stuart Baxter would be integrating some young blood into the team. However, that's not currently happening. And then when we move on right along, at number 4, you do have Stellenbosch. They have played 19 games and they currently sit on 30 points. So when you have a look at Stellenbosch then, this is a team that has had a very, very good season, and they've been doing very well. And what I like then about this Stellenbosch side is that tactically they're very, very sound, and tactically they're also very versatile. So they've been able to adapt to certain match situations, and we've also seen then sort of new faces being introduced, especially within the second round. So it's going to be interesting then to see where this Stellenbosch side finishes. However, I do foresee them finishing within the top 4 of DSTV Premiership football. And then moving on right along, at number 3, you do have Royal AM. With Royal AM then, they've played 19 matches and they currently sit on 30 points. So Royal AM then has been one of the surprise packages of this season by virtue of the fact that they've played really well and they've picked up the results as well. And what I do look forward to is seeing then how they finish off the second round. And we do know that they have advanced within the Nedbank Cup. They did pick up 3 points against Sikukune and they drew against Chippa United. So within 2022, they've been doing really well so far. They've picked up the points and they've managed then to advance to the round of 16 within the Nedbank Cup. It's going to be interesting then to see how some of those new players are integrated and what role do they play within this Royal AM side. And can they then actually look to challenge Orlando Pirates and maybe then finish within a CAF Champions League spot. And then moving on right along then, at number 2, we do have Orlando Pirates, who have played 20 games and have 31 points. With Orlando Pirates, it's also another team then that has been very inconsistent, and they've picked up so many draws. They've picked up the second most draws within the league. They currently have 10 draws. And when you have a look then at Orlando Pirates, I think the biggest issue with Orlando Pirates has been the selection and the personnel which is used. So with Orlando Pirates, you do know then that they play a hybrid system. So then it is a 3-4-2-1 in possession of the ball. Out of possession, it goes to a 4-4-2. And at times, the shape can look somewhat of a 4-5-1. So with Orlando Pirates then, the biggest qualm I've had with the technical team is the personnel that they've gone with at times. And I just feel that Kabelo Dlamini can give you a lot more than Makubela could, and also then Mhango can give you a lot more than a Pepra could up front. And I think then if we start seeing those changes and we start seeing then the adequate personnel being used for Orlando Pirates, I think they can be a lot more consistent and they can start to win a lot more games. Very interesting then to see if they can finish second within a CAF Champions League spot. We do know that they're also involved within the CAF Confederations Cup, where then they did pick up a 2-0 win the last time out within the CAF Confederations Cup. So they do look poised then to actually compete within that cup and look then to advance to the latter stages. And then at number 1, you do have Mamelodi Sundowns, who do then sit then on 48 points after 21 matches played. So with Mamelodi Sundowns then, I do think that the league is wrapped up. It's just about them just then rounding off the season and just them honoring their fixtures and for formalities and then picking up just, I think 2 or 3 more wins, and then that should be it for this Mamelodi Sundowns side. I think once they reach that 56-point mark, I think that's the end of the league with regards then to the title. Everybody else then will be playing then for second spot, for top 4, for top 8, and then avoiding relegation. However, with Mamelodi Sundowns as of late, we have seen them struggle. So we've seen them struggle and we've seen them drop points, and they haven't been as dominant as we know Mamelodi Sundowns to be. And when you have a look at it then, I think it boils down largely to the formation that they have been using, which is the 4-2-2-2. So when you have then a look at Mamelodi Sundowns and how then they have been using this. So when they did start out with the 4-2-2-2, it was really working. And at some point, I even remember them beating Marumo Gallants 4-0, using then the 4-2-2-2. And they were doing very well then when they used this system. However, as time progressed, I think that they became very predictable, and it became then very easy to look then to combat this Mamelodi Sundowns side. Because then when you have a look at this system, if you use this system against a team that sits back, it could very well work. However, teams then have started to press Mamelodi Sundowns, and teams then that have played on the front foot against Mamelodi Sundowns and look to press them high, they've found joy, and they've also then been able to get the results against Mamelodi Sundowns. So when you then look at Cape Town City, they went pound for pound with Mamelodi Sundowns. They got a draw. You look at Stellenbosch, they then look to press Mamelodi Sundowns high up and they look to unsettle them. They got a draw. Baroka, they also looked then to press this Mamelodi Sundowns side high up and try and match them in midfield. They also got a draw. And when you have a look then at this Mamelodi Sundowns side, they haven't been as dominant and they haven't been scoring as the goals as we know them to be. And I think then with Peter Shalulile, he's been off form and he's really been struggling then to score those goals for this Mamelodi Sundowns side, which then shows you that Mamelodi Sundowns then have been heavily reliant on Peter Shalulile's goals. And when you have a look at this system then, is that if you play against a team that looks to press you high up, they are able then to match you in midfield, because within the heart of midfield, you then, within consolidation phase and deep within the heart of midfield, then you won't always have the numerical advantage, and you won't always have the numerical superiority. So teams then do look to match this Mamelodi Sundowns side, and when they do find themselves in opposition half, then they could have the numerical superiority when then they look to sort of, so at times Rivaldo Coutinho would drop in there to make it a 3, but the shape would look somewhat like that. So at times then they will have the numerical advantage. However, then they haven't then been making use of the numerical advantage, and they've also struggled then to create chances, and they've also then struggled to score those goals. However, what I think then would be key for this Mamelodi Sundowns side then is going back then to a 4-3-3, because with this 4-2-2-2, they have then relinquished the control of the midfield by virtue of the fact that they play with the double pivot. Whereas if then you play then with a midfield 3, it allows you then to have one pivot, an 8, and then either a ball carrier or a creative 8, or an advanced 8 then who looks to join and looks to create. And then they have then the numbers within the heart of midfield. And then with the front 3 then, what this would do is that then they would be able, let's just get the front 3 there. So if then, for example, they've got a front 3 like that, the front 3 then, you could always have the 2 wingers. You could use them as inverted wingers, looking then to come in, and then they still could have that numerical advantage. But this time around, they'd have 5 within the heart of midfield. And this then would ensure that they control the midfield. Whereas we've seen with Sundowns, with their 4-2-2-2, they've lost control of the midfield at times. And when you lose control of the midfield, you lose control of the game. So Mamelodi Sundowns then haven't been as dominant, and they haven't had as much control within the heart of midfield. They haven't been creating as much chances, and they also haven't been converting their chances. And when you then play with the 4-3-3, it then also can allow you to get the wing backs as high as possible. And then what you're looking at then, you're looking at 5 players within the final third who can penetrate across the 5 vertical zones, because then you've got then one number 8 who will occupy this half space. You've got the other number 8 who will occupy this half space. You would have then your single pivot in there. You'd have your 2 centre backs. And if anything happens with regards then to Mamelodi Sundowns losing the ball on the left-hand side, this 8 can always come out to try combat that. So it also then offers great cover. And when you look at their rest defense then, it also then becomes a rest defense of a W. So a W rest defense, and then you've got 5 players then behind the ball. Not that they've been struggling from a defensive perspective, but this is also then another advantage then of a 4-3-3, is that it also then gives you a very solid rest defense with a W. So I think then that this is what Sundowns should switch back to, because I think that they play their best football when they play a 4-3-3. Also then it would allow them then to have and institute those wide overloads whenever then they have to. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. Do tell me, what do you think of this episode where I had a look at all 16 teams? And what do you make of some of the teams with regards to the positions that they currently sit at within the log? So, thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. Signing out.